afternoon and welcome to all of you. As part of our JP Morgan Women in Finance series, I'm delighted today to be moderating this inspiring panel at ATEL 2020 annual conference. My name is Veronique Steiner and I head up wholesale payments high growth tech segment for JP Morgan in Europe, Middle East and Africa. While we are all striving in our virtual world, we are happy to be all today on stage. Thanks to technology, I'm delighted to be able to welcome 4 women leaders who will join me in this panel, where they will share more insight around their career journey, but also around diversity and inclusion. With no further ado, let me bring you in our panel. Joining us today, we have Rafaela Cova-de-Lima, EMEA Treasury Director at Koch Industries, Coralie Billman, Head of Treasury PayPal Europe, Winky Choi, Head of Amazon EMEA Treasury, and Soraya Ahmed, Head of Trade Sales EMEA at JP Morgan. So welcome, ladies. Let me start off, by a kickoff ice-breaking questions. So to you, Rafaela, as a Brazilian based in Luxembourg, what is your favorite food to eat?
In Brazil, we have some cheese buns that we can eat as snacks or as breakfast. You can eat at any time of the day. I really enjoy them. It's one of my favorite food. It's not that easy to find them here in Luxembourg, but we managed to make them at home, and we can do some adaptation by using like local cheese and some other type of items, but it's really enjoyable.
Wow, it looks delicious. Thank you. Coralie, where is your favorite place to travel?
My favorite place is a very small village in the south of Greece called Myrtos. It's just a couple of houses and restaurants and the coast, and everything looks fabulous there. The food is delicious, very cheap, and we enjoy going there every summer for 20 years now.
Well, I want to discover that place as soon as we are able to travel more easily. So Winky, you have a busy day job as head of treasury. What do you do to switch off from work?
You're assuming that my switch has an off button, but I actually don't. So pre-pandemic, my way of kind of slow down and not thinking about work as much is that I kind of go outside and go run. And I also do running and swimming as well. I live across the street from an Olympic-sized swimming pool. But now in a pandemic era, then I just do running in the morning and basically do the things that most of the adults will have to do, the parents have to do, is do the laundry, take care of the kids, and cook. So that's another way of kind of, not thinking about work during the day. So, yeah.
Great, thank you so much for sharing. Soraya, so you have lived all over the world. Where is your favorite place?
Good morning, thank you. Well, my favorite place, and I had the privilege to live there for 8 years, is Italy. So I spent a lot of time living and working in Milan, and my favorite place in Italy is anywhere by the sea.
Thank you, ladies. Coralie, let's continue with you. Can you give us a brief description of your career journey so far?
So I'm basically an investment professional, passionate by financial markets. So I started my career a long time ago already as a fixed income fund manager for investment banks and then hedge funds, either in Paris and then in London and then in Luxembourg. I discovered treasury by chance when I joined PayPal 7 years ago, thanks to Winky as well. we had the chance to meet before my first day at PayPal, and basically I really enjoy treasury within a corporate environment, thanks to the broad activities that covers. It's not only buying or selling bonds, it's as well structuring a balance sheet, it's enabling business to grow. So this is why treasury is very often at the center of all the core activities of a corporate environment. It's extremely fast-paced, dynamic. Not a single day is the same that previous, so really enjoyable environment.
Thank you, Karali. Really inspiring how you've been able to adapt in new roles and in new environments in such a way. So moving now to Rafaela. So reflecting on your various stages of your career, are there any key moments that were really important factors in your career progression?
I think never being afraid to take on new challenges or being proactive and hands-on. I feel that like if you embrace it, or you're still, even if you're not very comfortable about implementing new banking structures or complex financial products in a different region or in a different country that you're not very familiar on, I think just that like being very open to that kind of challenge, that it helped me and enabled me to proceed throughout my career around the world.
Wow, I love the energy. Thank you. Winky, what got you interested in corporate treasury career? And could you give us also a brief description of your journey so far?
How I entered into treasury, it's somewhat by an accident. I actually started as an engineering manager, managing a systems team developing imaging system for HR, as well as developing, setting up a call center for India. And slowly moved over to PayPal because of personal reason. I actually moved to California and work on supporting their treasury and accounting. And one of the things at the time that I did was to set up an FX netting for the company, basically centralize the whole process in Singapore. And then we also did an implementation on a money market fund, which is, by the way, at the time was #1 in the country. And then I was asked to move on to another project because the organizational change. But I wasn't ready to move because the system was still kind of halfway implemented. And so I would like to stay in. And the treasurer at the time was really appreciative of someone who actually understands the systems and also understands the business because of my background and also in finance. So I kind of stepped into the treasury role at that time, and that was the beginning of it. So I essentially changed into more of a treasury professional, and then from there on, I ended up taking the opportunity in Luxembourg, and then into the corporate treasury role.
Well, very exciting projects. Thank you so much. Coming to you now, Soraya, what is the biggest challenge you have overcome so far in your career, and how did you navigate it?
Right. I think the biggest challenge for me, or challenges, I would say, is really when I have moved country and changed and come out of my comfort zone in terms of a job or a product proposition that I've worked on for some years. But I think that's just part of one's career and professional growth. So I have had the opportunity to have worked in Pakistan, in London, in Italy, and I hope that journey will continue. But I think around the point of navigation, it's all based on the will to learn more, to grow more, and I think just talking about a particular situation where I moved out of origination and sales into product. It was more about learning literally from scratch, points around documentation, structuring, credit, risk, etc. That I think one has to approach that with the spirit that you're going to learn, and I think you're personally engaged in that because you just want to grow from those experiences. But most importantly, I think, is not to be too hard on yourself. I think the most important thing is, even at a management level, managers are also very, very keen to have new talent. And I think there is a definite understanding that it can take a little bit of time before you come to grips with a new product or a new proposition or a new country that you might choose to work in.
Thank you, Soraya. Through your different answers, I have noticed that some of you not only evolved in your careers, but have also largely traveled to be able to accomplish this journey. So Winky, back to you. Can you share one of your mobility stories, either geographic relocation, or different roles, and what made you leave your comfort zone to meet this new challenge?
Well, first of all, my comfort zone, the way I would define it is actually leaving a company. Because to me, if you do in a different role within an organization, you're still within the comfort zone because your knowledge, you know that you can access your colleagues who's there to help you out to grow into knowing your job or knowing how to accomplish your responsibility. But once you move to another company, you have to start from scratch, including building new relationships and learning the job and learning the corporate culture and the policy, etc. So to me, that was really the hardest thing to do. But at the same time, you see that in a new challenge come with a new rewards as well. So from a location perspective, usually when I moved, it was due to the personal reason. So while I was in PayPal eBay, I had 5 different jobs. So that was from California to Luxembourg. Not an issue because I'm still having access to the colleagues. But when I changed from the PayPal eBay world into Amazon, that's really a brand new thing. But I also realized that there's a great deal of opportunities at Amazon just because it's a big organization. They touch on a lot of different business line and products. So I think that with that in mind, I was able to kind of expand my knowledge. To me, that is very important. Think of it as that you're going to be able to grow into something bigger than you were before and can have fun to do it. That's a way to kind of reward yourself in any career.
Well, thank you for sharing so much. It's really incredible. And I love the way that you're bringing these opportunity and challenges to us. So thank you for that. And Rafaela, now to you. I know your career so far has brought you to many countries, I understand, and I am sure I'm missing some: Brazil, Ireland, US, Luxembourg. Tell me about that journey, please.
Yeah, so I'm a native Brazilian, as you mentioned, and I spent most part of my studies, except for some months in Ireland during college, but beginning of my career, all the years of that beginning was in Brazil. I worked always for multinational companies and mostly on the oil and gas industry. But some years ago, I decided to take a sabbatical to learn French, and that's how I ended up in Luxembourg, actually. So after 5 years being around here in the US, so I joined Guardian Industries, which is part of the Coke group, in 2015, and in 2018, I took an opportunity to lead the Americas team over there. And that made me spend 2 years in the US, and now I relocated back to Luxembourg in the beginning of this year. So yeah, I've been, as you mentioned, right, like around countries, but I'm always open for new challenges. I definitely will keep embracing new relocation opportunities. I like moving. I like seeing different environments and having this discovery perspective of having to adapt yourself as well. I think it's a good challenge, and I really enjoy it.
Thank you so much. I fully appreciate your traveling. I've been myself traveling a lot throughout my life, and I think that is amazing opportunities to indeed discover new cultures, new people, and have to adapt. I think it's a day-to-day challenge. So congratulations on that path. Coralie, now looking back on various stages of your career, what would you say were the most important factors in your career progression?
I would say the basis are really the technical skills at the beginning. It's really important for treasury professionals to have established really a knowledge about not only the systems, but what can and cannot be done in a treasury environment. And I really emphasize the fact that it's not really at school that we can learn this really. So I really encourage treasury professionals to go for postgraduate qualification like CFA or really like treasury chartering. It's really important for us to build the technical skills first, and then only we basically build the knowledge and the interest in all treasury matters basically. And from that we can really grow. We can go shoot for more responsibilities all the time, shoot for success, and do not hesitate to raise your hand or to volunteer ourselves for anything, even if it's not really treasury specific. go beyond the box, basically. This is what I do almost every day. Treasury is always touching different aspects of the business. And we need to go always above what is really expected from a pure treasury responsibilities.
Thank you so much, Coralie. And this leads me to a question now on diversity and inclusion. JP Morgan has a clear commitment to diversity and inclusion. In a company of more than 250 employees, we have approximately half of our staff is female. But of course, diversity and inclusion is about more than just empowering a woman, right? So Soraya, can you tell us a little bit more about things that have changed since the sad George Floyd's death?
I think there have been great efforts from all places. And that's what I found in terms of my personal and professional life. And I hope you are seeing that as well. At JPM, we are focused on a culture of respect and inclusion for many, many years. But literally what happened hours, days, and weeks after George Floyd's death is something I will never forget and something I have never seen, especially at the workplace. And by that, I mean literally from the top of the firm, our chairman and CEO, Jamie Dimon, spoke out directly on the events and the systemic racism and unconscious bias that still manifests itself all around us. And since then, we also have a new global diversity and inclusion head who engages with all our businesses across the world to ensure that those dialogues, that awareness, the drive to change is committed on and takes place. And by that, I specifically mean management training that's been done. Significant hours have been put into this, a commitment to diverse job slates. And I think really interestingly and importantly, driving more and more diversity and inclusion hiring commitments by the top 200 managers in our firm.
Thank you, Soraya. So now I'd like to end this interview and panel with final sweet and short tip questions. In 2019, survey of women in Treasury conducted by Treasury Today, 70% of respondents said that they consider mentoring, coaching, and sponsorship very helpful. I personally do. To develop your successful career, you need a coach, a mentor, or sponsor. Coralie, can you tell us about mentors or sponsors that have been important in your career?
My mentor, I only have one, gave me this advice a long time ago already, almost 15 years ago. And it's only one: keep your enthusiasm. Short and sweet. And I think I remember this almost all the time. And when you lose your enthusiasm, then it's time to go or time to shoot for more. But it's really an important tip.
100% agreed. I mean, if work is not fun, we spend so many hours in our jobs that, why worth it? So now moving to Rafaela, any tips for the next generation of female leaders as they may consider finance and treasury roles?
I think it's very important to keep being resilient, be proactive. It's very important to understand, make sure that you are enjoying what you do and you can find fulfillment. I think that's the main goal that you should seek in your life, in any career, right? And one item that I really enjoyed and I always approach that way for myself as well is having an inquisitive nature, right? Like always asking questions, being honest about your own limitations and everything. That helps a lot as well.
Thank you. So I hear, don't be shy, ask. Winky, so last question for you. I think this question is really, insightful, and I want to ask to you as well, what are your tips for the next generation of female leaders?
I think what Coralie and Raphael mentioned is absolutely right on the spot. You have to have the enthusiasm. You got to have to be resilient. But you also got to know yourself. What are you interested in? What wants you makes you to get up every day? So with that in mind, you got to have the right attitude. And I always come across with how people get inspired. And I think that one of the things when I joined Amazon, they have 14 leadership principles. And I think there are a couple of them that really resonate with me. And to me, the advice I would love to tell them that how I would get inspired myself by identifying that I want to do these things, it's where you think you will get your success. So the top 5 of them, in my opinion, learn to be curious. So always try to find out why you want to know more. Deep dive. You don't mind to get your hands dirty and you want to know more about it in detail. Why? What drives that? Invent and simplify. Once you get to know why, then you try to figure out how can I improve upon it? How can I simplify it? What makes it less equals more? Then it will go to think big. Now you take a strategic level view of how I can look at this small piece and become a bigger, as a fit into a bigger picture. What does it mean for corporate, So you got to think about outside the little box. And lastly, to me, it's also very important throughout the whole journey would be insist on highest standard. No matter what you do, it's the quality that matters. Don't rush and don't think that doing more is better. It is not. So always keep in mind your quality and integrity should always come first. So if we keep in mind those things and identify what drives you, get you wake up every day, and I think that's a ticket for your success. And I think it's not just for Treasury, it should be for anyone who try to identify what excites you every day, and you want to do more, and you'll be successful in it. And so those are the tips that I at least that's how I drive myself every day, thinking about those principles.
Well, that was an amazing feedback. Thank you so much, Winky. Ladies, I think this was a perfect way to also finish our discussion. I'd like to thank you warmly for the time that you have given to us today. I think it was really insightful. I hope everybody will take what I learned as new tips and tricks to be able to move forward, to take back also inspiring careers, to make sure that people go forward, are curious, have the aptitude to adapt, but also meet the standard that they want for their life. So thank you very much for taking the time. We really appreciated to have you with us today, and thank you.